Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Zen, your astrologer, and today I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming new moon in the sign of Aries, taking place either on the 11th or 12th of April, depending on which side of the planet you're on. And this particular new moon takes place at 22 degrees of the sign of Aries. And the reason why I have mentioned the degree is because this one is kind of important. This is the degree where very big, sometimes extremely hard to achieve breakthroughs can take place in our lives, but what is almost an extremely important, an essential, let's say psychological requirement for this is total honesty with the self. Now, what this actually means is that we truly have to be aligned with our soul level desire, with our personal truth, with who it is that we are, based on our primordial self, as in what it is that we came in this world, in this incarnation with. But of course, the sun is one of the biggest power players in any new moon, so that also means the correlation between who we are in the very core of our being, but also who it is that we became, our conditioned self, our ego, everything that we learned, everything that we basically integrated within ourselves from others, from everything that we learned from other philosophies, from life experience, from everything that shaped and formed the person who we are today. And the reason why this is so very important to basically embody our true identity, embody our truth, is because so much is going on in the sky at the time of this new moon, and it holds a lot of conversations with other planets. So we can only get what we truly need in our lives, what we truly have worked for, is if we work with the correct divine blueprint alive, existing in all of us individually. Now, of course, this will always be subjective. It is never, ever, ever going to be objective, as in the one and only truth, because who we are on the inside is susceptible to a higher degree of subjectivism, and that is the healthy, the normal, and the natural way to go about it. Because on one hand, everything changes, everything evolves, everything adapts, everything in the world kind of loses certain states and inherits new ones. So the self, regardless if you look at the soul, the moon, or the identity, the sun, is no exception to this. So we're always in a state of flow, we're always changing, we're always adapting and evolving. And on the other hand, everything in life is just a question of perception, and that is always going to be subjective. So this is where this high degree of subjectivism is absolutely normal, and it is absolutely healthy, because basically we have to decide for ourselves what everything in life and existence, inner or outer, means for us personally, and no one and nothing, not even the divine, can do that for us, because otherwise what use is to have free will? And free will, willpower, what we want to accomplish, where we invest our energy, focus, basically our essence, well, that is very much in the domain of Aries. It is very much fiery energy, and the kind of fiery energy which creates, and also not just creates, but preserves the creation. So this is where we're doing whatever we're doing right now, under the influence of this new moon. We're doing it for the long-term future. We want it to be powerful. We want it to be stable, grounded, and to be a very active and important part of our life stories, of our identity, and everything that has to do with our earthly power and our own individual and unique influence over the world and over the collective. Of course, we're just tiny drops in the ocean, yet still each and every drop has a power and an importance and a role of their own, and that, even if it's just a tiny role, that can never be ignored or disconsidered. And this is exactly what this Aries new moon is trying to teach us, especially because it goes hand in hand with the planetoid Aries, the female awakener, the rebel, the freedom fighter, and of course this very powerful female ingenuity who can find a way to get where she wants to get, where she can find a way to have her justice regardless of how the external conditions or the situations are against her. And because this new moon basically is so very close to Aries, this is an opportunity that we just cannot let escape our grasp. This is such a wonderful blessing that one way or another we do have to use this, because it doesn't happen that very often when basically the whole sky, the universe, the divine itself favors the underdog, favors those who have no chance, favors those, for example, whose dream is way too big. Because usually, let's be honest with ourselves, it's the other way around. Those who made a lot of compromises, or those who have a very, very strong support of any kind to keep them going, are the ones favored in absolutely anything, even from an astrological perspective, because, that is basically the material way of going around things. That is basically the rule and law of nature, either where there is the power of the masses, where there is a lot of wills combined for a single purpose that naturally will have a way in life, in nature, in anything, or where there is a very strong power, let's say material power in someone's possession. Of course, that is also a door opener in so very many different ways. But perhaps it is this particular new moon where basically, even if odds are against us, our desire, our will, what we want to accomplish, we still have a chance. It's not gonna be easy, of course, but there is a true chance. But I'll get back to this particular energy later on in the analysis. Before we get there, I would just like to speak about another reason why this upcoming Aries full moon is so very important. It's because an Aries new moon in Western tropical astrology opens up the new astrological year, the cycle of the next 12 months, which means that every single Aries new moon of every year is very important in itself, because that is basically the celestial invitation to begin anew, to regenerate, to focus on our future plans, whatever we're passionate about, etc. So this is always part of the picture. This Aries new moon is even more powerful than that, because it's the first Aries new moon after last December's Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, which basically opened up this new paradigm, the big cycle of the next, not just 20 years, but also 200 years, because the great conjunctions are going to take place in air signs, so it is extremely important, and this is the very, very first astrological conversation which emphasizes on creation, on birth, on the new taking shape and form, even in a physical sense. And this new, this fresh, everything that is linked to this is also everything that we need to have in our lives, in our destinies, regardless if those are like material things, spiritual, psychological, anything really goes here. But we do need all of those things for our long-term future. This is how we step into the new. This is where we try to rebuild our world, our lives, our society, try to heal it, try to improve it. Now, of course, the big picture, the final destination is years to come, so that part is very clear. But also because we're in so much need in this to achieve breakthrough, to finally be able to work towards, in a very practical way, of course, whatever we desire to experience. This is also highly influential regarding the shorter term future, as in the next month until the very end of the year. A lot of what this Aries new moon has to conjure up in our lives over the period of the next 6 months. Well, we urgently need those elements, regardless if it's something karmic, something very practical, something down to earth, or an opportunity, a job offer. Regardless, we kind of need it as fast as possible. And yet, another reason why this is so very important, well, all of this is taking place under the long-term square of Saturn and Uranus. This energy, which is basically the overall tone for all of the year 2021. This celestial conversation is going to be part of our lives all throughout the year, and I've spoken about this in great detail in all of my previous videos. Yet still, the big picture is, as I said, out with the old, in with the new. This is where this Uranus revolutionizes, changes, upgrades, and of course deconstructs certain structures which no longer serve us, those which need improvement, those which are outdated, accept the core structures of what a human society has to be built upon. For example, morality, humanitarianism, compassion, solidarity. So obviously not these, but how these are playing out, how these have to provide equality, equal chances, equity, etc. Now that is what we're actually focusing on. And up until this point, we kind of benefited from the not so favorable expression of this Uranus, where we had a lot of truths, surprises, shocks, unexpected twists and turns of events, which were more like setbacks, which were more like moments of upheaval, moments of panic, moments of even paranoia. Sometimes we were so very well on our personal path, and then just something happened on the world stage and they changed the rules and regulations, and we found ourselves stopped in our tracks. So it is all of these chaotic manifestations of Uranus, the new, the future, the truth, that kind of appeared in our lives spontaneously without any warning, but these were more like bringing to our awareness of how profound this change has to be. And with this particular new moon, this is where we, of course, the theme is the same, but perhaps this is when Uranus can surprise us with all the tools that we need in order to navigate safely, proficiently, towards the new, towards the upgraded structures, upgraded principles, etc. So now let's take a look at the astrological configuration of this new moon. What makes it so very, very influential? Well, first of all, the sign of Aries is packed with a lot of planets at this time of this new moon. Some of these planets are actually conjunct hand in hand with this new moon, while others are not, but their presence is still important. So first of all, we have Chiron, the wounded healer in the sign of Aries. This is our wounds, everything that is hurting us, everything that is upsetting us, everything that is basically taking away our liberty. Some of this is ancestral, some of this is something we inherited, even if it's just a psychological energy. For example, the mindset of our parents, the mindset of our culture, which may not be very healthy, for example. But it can also be our past, it can also be things that run in the family, etc. So this Chiron already tells us that among everything else, this new moon is also a very healing one. This may give us a chance to heal ourselves and regenerate our lives profoundly, or at least to know what it is that we need to do to obtain a greater state of wholeness without our wounds and traumas influencing our lives. Of course, then we have Mercury, the planet of the mind, communication, and there is a very strong synergy because Mars also converses with this new moon from Mercury's home sign of Gemini, and Mars is also the ruling planet of Aries, where Mercury is. And this already represents that this is like our instinctual intelligence, our gut feeling, that very, very special power that animals possess even more proficiently than humans, so that they can simply navigate, go where they need to be, driven and guided by this very strong instinctual intelligence, the gift of nature that just guides them. So this is really, really important because this is also a blessing that we have in ourselves as well as human beings. Because yes, we are very sophisticated and all that, but we're also part of nature. And if this energy becomes very, very active inside of us, that is a great help. That is a great strength and power, because our instincts can actually steer us in the best direction at this time. Another very influential astrological energy is Ceres, and Ceres is the planetoid of nurture. You know, in mythology, she's the Mitra, grain, agriculture, the goddess who watches over nature and the fertility of the land, etc. And in the sign of Aries, she is every kind of nurture that we need to stay alive, to stay strong, to prosper. May that be like food for our physical bodies. May that be love, because that is the energy which nurtures our soul, our emotional world. May that be material resources which nurtures our human selves in society, so to speak, in basically down to earth matters. May that be social connections, sympathy, inspiration, art, spirituality, connection to source. Basically every single source of nurture which makes us whole, which makes us powerful, which keeps us in existence. So this can mean absolutely anything. And Ceres is conjunct this new moon, so she is part of it, which means that mostly on the world stage, well, this is also going to be people demanding fairness with the resources that are bestowed upon them. Everything that they need to have in their lives to be and stay alive and to protect their physical well-being. And yes, of course, this means food. Of course, this means material resources. But at the same time, it also means freedom. It also means human rights. Because we also need to meet other people. We need to have physical interaction. We need to share thoughts, ideas, feelings, etc. with others for us to stay alive as a human being. Because otherwise, going without these starves our soul, starves our psyche. So it causes a twist and turn, a so-called mutation, if you like, into something we don't want to become. So this automatically means that a lot of people are going to be protesting, demanding their rights, fighting for what they believe in. Let's not forget that Aries is the fighter, it is the warrior, it is extremely assertive, and it will not give up on what belongs to it, as in, give the Caesar what rightfully belongs to the Caesar, and of course the divine what it's his. But Aries is very much about the Caesar. Even in tarot, it is the Emperor card. So this is where we have to be attuned with the sovereignty that we have over the self, our beings, even our physical bodies. And whenever our source of nourishment, as I said, May that be from a very down-to-earth perspective like food and money, or may that be psychological, freedom, rights, etc. We are definitely going to fight for this. Everyone through their own unique ways, but the fight is definitely on, and people will not give up and they will not surrender. May that be collectively and individually as well. Now the next astrological energy is without a doubt the conjunction of the sun and the moon, so it is the new moon. New moons always represent new beginnings, they set the stage for the new. This is where the universe acts like a sponge, absorbing in our desires, our emotions, our aspirations, our goals and psychological energy, what we want to experience next, what we want to create next, what we want to do with our powers, our strength and skills next. So this in itself is very important because this is the core energy, basically activating all of this. Then we have at 24 degrees of the sign of Aries, the planetoid Aries. Now Aries is going to be a key power player here, even though some astrologers will not take her into consideration, but let's just look at the facts. Now if Pluto is as powerful as it is, and there is no question about this, let me just tell you one of the events Pluto is strongly linked to, the Hiroshima events. So humanity kind of saw the true power of Pluto. But Aries, even though her energy is totally different, she is just as strong and influential and powerful because she is even further away from the sun than Pluto. She's in the Kuiper belt. Her size is roughly the same as Pluto's, but she moves much slower. So everyone alive today on the planet, without exception, has Aries in the sign of Aries in their charts. We were born with this. And what Aries is doing in this part of the sky for such a long time, she is awakening us. She is upgrading our instincts. She is upgrading the very nature of our beings. She's basically reflecting a totally different kind of truth to all of us as a species. And what she is actually trying to bring to our awareness is that our willpower is just as divinely sovereign as any other major, let's say, influence in the universe. We also have the divine alive within us, so that makes our will, our willpower, our inner fire have a massive influence over reality. And the very first step, so to speak, for us to embody this, to integrate this into ourselves so that we can use it actively, is first of all to take responsibility for this. And right now, the biggest lesson that she is teaching us is that, well, all those people and groups of people, basically centralized power and big corporations, big pharma, all of the scientific community, which dictates our lives in the present moment, are so very, very powerful and influential because we allowed them to exercit their sovereign wills without any kind of challenge. On one hand, out of sheer ignorance because we didn't care, we didn't perceive it as a threat. And on the other hand, for the sake of comfort, guarantee to live basically a life where our futures are much safer due to everything that we have to surrender in order to have that safety. We have to surrender the adventures of life. Sometimes we have to surrender our passions, our curiosities, our instincts, and our inner truth just to be safe from a very physical and earthly perspective. And right now, with this new moon, this is exactly what Aries is changing for all of us. She is inviting us through every possible means. May it be something inner, psychological that happens. may it be everything, all the media, all the communication channels that are influencing us. She is trying to invite us to take our powers back and just use the sheer force of our wills to change that which we do not agree with. And finally, the last power player in this picture is Venus, goddess of love and beauty. She is not very strong and powerful in the sign of Aries. She is very rudimentary, instinctual. She's extremely down to earth and not as romantic, not as dreamy as she is in her exalted positions. But under these circumstances, we do need this very strong warrior kind of Venus to kind of keep us going, because Venus in the sign of Aries is our desires, is our passions, everything that we want to attract in our lives, everything that brings us true, genuine pleasure. And more importantly, the freedom for us to be able to live that pleasure whenever we desire. Venus is also self-worth, so it is very much about our rights. It is very much about our human dignity, which we are not going to be surrendering at all. So Venus is definitely fighting for what belongs to her. And in her symbolic celestial fight, so to speak, well, she actually faces Pluto, so she is kind of disadvantaged, but it is her disadvantage that makes this energy so fiery, so revolutionary, so rebellious. Because Pluto in the sign of Capricorn is the power. On one hand, it is also our power, the power we possess, which is not that strong from a material perspective right now. As in, there is nothing we can do tactically, either with our money, with our earthly power, to change this very quickly, to change the situation, to live our rights and liberties. But at the same time, that Pluto is all of the power that basically the ruling class have over us and are actually exerting on us as we speak. So that is the fight. And even though, as I said, Venus is a bit disadvantaged, Venus has no chance alone against Pluto, so Pluto is the predominant influence here. But Venus also receives a harmonious, supremely harmonious conversation, a trine from the galactic center in the sign of Sagittarius. And the galactic center is basically the divine. It is the mind of God. It is basically creational energy. So the heart is so very strong at this time, even if it's in pain, even if all of the conflict and the turmoil and the restrictions and limitations and the not fair means by which the power of the rulers is forced upon us. Yes, that upsets us, that demotivates us, that angers us and frustrates us, but that is also what gives us godly power, so to speak, godly courage, the power of faith and belief in order to break free. So this is one of the most important aspects that this new moon holds. So the new moon, the sun is conjunct the moon, Ceres, Aries and Venus. All of these planets and symbols are in one place, and together they hold a square, a conversation of maximum tension with Pluto. So it's not just Venus alone, as in everything that we love, the passion in our hearts, etc., fighting for freedom, so to speak, and to get our powers back, but it's also the sun and moon, our ego along with our souls, Ceres, everything that has to nurture us, Aries, our primordial power, and our awakened state. And together, they do have an authentic chance against Pluto, especially because of this Aries. Because Aries is exactly that astrological energy who can win even when all odds are against her. Even if Pluto the very strong essence of transformation, change, death, and even the shadow may block everything out, yet Aries, through the power of chaos, through the power of her sovereign will, infiltrating even that which is impossible, can actually stand a chance against it. And if Venus holds this trine with the galactic center, well, that automatically means that Aries holds the same trine. So it means that the divine is going to be orchestrating all of this. This is the kind of energy through which the divine alive inside of us, so from within, not just takes action, but it aims for success. And when the divine aims for success, when the divine inside of us aims for breakthrough, it cannot be stopped. The rest of the celestial conversations that this new moon holds is those of sextiles, so that is a really wonderful, inspirational energy where our motivation, determination, and sheer willpower to succeed with what this breakthrough or this new beginning means for us personally. This is where, through the symbolism of these sextiles, it's almost like everything from every possible source, we are inspired to take action, or at least to believe in ourselves, to believe in our desires, work where we can, do whatever it is that we can, and chances are that our attitude of just wanting to succeed and having so much faith and the willingness to invest everything that we have in this is definitely going to be blessed because of the sextile with Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of blessings but also expansion. So this Jupiter basically expands our willpower. It adds a lot of strength to it. And of course, this is where, even if we want to start something where we either are disadvantaged or don't have sufficient knowledge, don't have sufficient help, or whatever may be required, this Jupiter just can grant us the beginner's luck. It can make every step that we take very, very lucky and fortunate, as long as we believe in it and we focus on this frequency of trust and belief and ultimately gratitude. Now, Mars holds a trine with Jupiter at this time. A trine is a supremely harmonious conversation. So definitely our willpower, our plans, the strength of our mind. This is where Mars in the sign of Gemini, mind over matter, literally, is gonna be empowered in such a way that even if we personally might not have everything that we need for this breakthrough or to fight for our dreams, our hopes, our new beginnings, then the universe can basically bless us with another person or any kind of alliance or connection who does have the experience that we need, or who can help us in one way or another to get where we are. So chances are that this new moon is definitely going to be birthing new alliances, new partnerships, new associations, maybe new friendships, but this is the Gemini kind of alliance. And what I mean by this is, the Aquarian kind of alliance can represent a lot of people, maybe a community, a group of people. The Gemini kind of alliance represents a very, very close one-on-one alliance where we see and perceive that other person as a part of ourselves. So this can mean a close friendship, this can mean brotherhood, sisterhood, this can mean a business partner who you respect very much, or help from family. And for some people, why not it can even represent a collective, because Jupiter is in the sign of Aquarius, so that can also mean blessing, sympathy, or any kind of help from the collective as well. So now, after we spoke about all these technical details, let's take a look at how this particular Aries new moon can influence our lives personally. Well, this is basically a very favorable moment, a very favorable energy, a blessing for us to plant our seeds of intentions into the universe. Everything which has to do with what we want, what we desire, what we love, our future plans, our long-term future, any new beginning, any life improvement, anything that has to do with our sovereign wills. But of course, the past astrological energies, everything from the very beginning of the year that led us to this point in time, kind of prepared us for this moment. So chances are that most of us are already aligned with our true desires, with our core identity, with the truth that we hold in our lives. In other words, we kind of know what we want, and we also know what our limitations are, that Pluto in Capricorn. This is exactly why, yes, absolutely, the cosmos itself wants us to succeed, wants us to create, to work, to fight for our dreams, yes. But there is a very strong requirement. It is not an easy energy. There are a lot of blessings and empowerment in the sky, perhaps more than any other time in the past 3 years. Yet still, there is also a massive karmic test to this, because that Pluto is also everything that makes us weaker. Our shame, our guilt, our mistrust in ourselves or the divine or other people, our obsessions, our traumas, our wounds, our pain, our own shadows, our ignorance, wherever we squander our powers, whenever we surrender our sovereignty, even our self-sacrificial and self-victimization tendencies. So the shadow will be there in a very straightforward manner. And this is where, yes, we are fighting for our rights, we're fighting for our dreams, we're fighting for our futures, literally. But the fight, first of all, is with that Pluto, with our shadows, with all of our psychological impurities, with the past, with our weakness. And naturally, most of us have made very significant progress to overcome all of that. We had purges over purges, revelations, dark nights of the soul, everything that we needed to do to clean our souls and our emotional world from the past and limitations, etc. And this is where we are invited to take the exam. So yes, the universe empowers our wills and everything that we want to accomplish, but we also have to prove it by overcoming the shadow, by overcoming our limitations, and proving that we did learn the lesson, and we are taking back our powers. We're not surrendering, we're not giving up, and we're not using that Mars in Gemini, our mental powers, our thought patterns, in a self-defeating, in a negative, in a doomy and gloomy way where we're not good enough, we're not pretty enough, strong enough, knowledgeable enough, intelligent, etc. You know where I'm going with this. But rather the opposite. Even if we cannot see how we'll succeed, our willpowers are still divine and sovereign. So the universe, the great divine intelligence, will surely find a way, because basically our sovereign wills are command for the fabric of reality itself to execute it. And if we are aware of this, if we can use this directly, then we already have everything to succeed. So basically, as this moment of this new moon is approaching, our shadows are also getting stronger and stronger. That means a lot of doubts. That means a lot of down-to-earth facts and informations, and perhaps concrete data of why you shouldn't follow your dreams. But this is where your belief in yourself has to be that much stronger, and know that this is one of those very rare moments when you actually stand a chance even against the impossible. Even if the odds are against you, you still stand a chance. Like, for example, me personally, this Pluto square has already appeared in my life. Like, yes, I am creating this video right now, but at the same time, I'm also aware of the fact that I have 99 subscribers in my YouTube channel. So I might be thinking, what am I doing? I might be willing to share this information. I might be so passionate about astrology, and I might have the experience, but what am I doing? Reality says 99 subscribers. What am I gonna do with that? Where is that going to be leading me? Nowhere. That is basically my own Pluto in Capricorn. The facts, figures, the truth, the hardness of reality sinking in. But yet, I may not give up. I have to believe that because I am so passionate about this, and I have taken a massive leap of faith to do this, the universe will have to support me, and this is where I'm waving to that galactic center in Sagittarius, and also Jupiter in Aquarius to somehow find a quantum way even for my desire to become real. And chances are that one way or another, the very same thing that is popping up in my life, the limitation which comes with evidence, facts and figures, is also popping up in your life, trying to demotivate you, try to ground you in a rather defeating way. This is where you have to say, no, I don't care about the facts and figures. I believe in my purpose. I believe in my goal. I know what I want. I have my inner truth. I suffered for it. I fought for it. I have went through so many purges exactly to be here, to be who I am right now in this very sacred moment in time. And it doesn't matter even if the whole world is against me, even if I'm fighting against windmills. Right now I am choosing to trust myself and my desires and give it everything that I have. So basically this is how we translate this Aries new moon. So it's not gonna be easy, but regardless of what this fight, this act of conquering our limitations means for you personally, this is where you just have to trust yourself, believe in yourself, and just go for it. And naturally that Pluto square also has a very positive element to it, because all those facts, all those concrete numbers, figures, whatever the limitation means for you personally, also give you a very down-to-earth attitude. You know exactly in which ways you may not risk. What are the totally uninspired and perhaps foolish choices that we can make? So basically, even though we are so very aligned with our fates, with what we desire to accomplish, that doesn't mean that we're going to immerse into illusion and fantasy and just lose everything. Right now is really not the time for fantasies and games of the mind and even our unconscious. This is where we truly have to be real, and our faith has to be real. This is when we're truly exiting the birth canal. So after we exit, we need to have everything to take care of ourselves. Even if what we create for ourselves right now is a little bit way too big for how we are in the present moment, but we have to believe that we can grow into it regardless of how big it is, and bigger is better ultimately. Now regarding the world stage, how this energy will influence the collective, well, that is very, very obvious and straightforward. Whenever Aries converses in a conversation of tension with Pluto, and we could see this playing out in 2019 and 2020 as well, because Aries moves so very, very slowly, and Pluto also takes a lot of time to even move 1 single degree. So this basically represented conflict, this represented protests, uprising, violence, revolution. Very many times it brought out the worst from people, their animalistic instincts, their brutality, etc. But of course, Aries does do desperate gestures at certain times, especially symbolic gestures, to awaken us, to sound all the alarm bells. For example, Aries versus Pluto is a very George Floyd kind of moment where she uses that symbol to alarm all of us profoundly from our instinct, not just our minds and emotions, but everything that we are in our hearts of hearts, basically. So we can expect a lot of protests, we can expect unrest, upheaval, we can expect people fighting stronger and more passionately than ever for what they believe in, for their sovereign rights, for their integrity, for their equality, for non-discrimination, and basically to have a word to say in where laws, rules, legislation, social security norms are kind of going in the future. People will basically refuse their futures to be determined by their representatives. They want to choose and decide their futures for themselves and not. This is basically what taking your power back means on a collective scale. But of course, this might just be the first lightning bolts, thunder and wind before a massive storm, because as we head towards the middle and second half of April, that is gonna be when Mars is unbound. Mars is entering Cancer, where it's debilitated, but it does empower community, solidarity, the power of the people in Cancer. It makes people extremely compassionate, emotionally vulnerable, not just to their own pains, but the pains of others. So that creates unity. And Mars is also extremely assertive, extremely chaotic when it's out of bounds. So that will be the moment of the massive storm. But that is a story for another time, another forecast. Because right now, Aries in its essence is all about the individual. It is about the self, especially with the sun and moon in it. So this new moon is much more important for us individually than even collectively. So my words of advice are: believe in yourself, in your dreams, in your goals, stronger, more passionately, and more truer than you have ever done in your life. Know that the cosmic intelligence, the divine itself, is supporting you, and whatever it is that you feel, especially your soul level desires, may that be love, may that be equality, may that be material well-being and just fairness in your life in every sense, the universe actually supports that. And half of what you feel is the universe alive inside of you. So you're already divine, you're already divinely empowered. So just have faith in yourself and do not be shy to express your truth. That Mars in Gemini, speak it, write it, show it, project it, express it any way you can, humanly, spiritually, psychologically, however you can. Just be sure to stay aligned with what is so important for you right now and the new beginning that you'd like to create for yourself. And do not be rigid about it. Adapt, allow the universe to steer you and guide you. Work with what you have. Work wherever the divine is guiding you, or more importantly, your instincts, your gut feeling, your primordial intelligence. Trust it, because it steers you to wherever you need to be, the right place at the right time. And do not let the limitations, don't let fears, don't let bad patterns of the past stop your progress and demotivate you. This is where you have to believe genuinely that even if what you desire or your future plans are against all odds, The universe through this Aries right now can truly help you turn the tables. Now, thank you so much for listening. I do hope that this was helpful. Thank you so much for all your likes, shares, and your lovely comments. If you have any suggestions of the content you would like to listen to, feel free to express your opinion and requests in the comments. And if you'd like to support my work and my channel, you can donate through PayPal. You can find the link in the description below. Thank you once again for listening. Wish everyone a blessed and extremely passionate new moon. May all your dreams and desires come into existence. Thank you again. Until next time. Bye for now.